Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Cause and Effect. I hope you're feeling good today. So today I wanted to talk to you about what to do when you feel like it's your job to protect everyone. And something which comes up a lot for the leaders I work with is this feeling that they have to look after everyone and fix everything. And as a result, they feel compelled to jump in and solve every problem which lands on their desk. But I wonder what would actually happen if the next time a crisis landed on your desk, you didn't immediately drop everything to fix it. I suspect not the thing that you fear wouldn't happen. The worst case scenario that your mind jumps to is just not going to happen. But what actually realistically would? And most leaders never really sit with that question because the pull to jump in to rescue their team member is so automatic. It's so deeply woven into who they are and how they lead that the alternative feels almost unthinkable because of the guilt they feel if they don't. And yet that automatic response, however well intentioned, may be one of the most significant things that's holding your team and your organisation back. The thing is, responding to every urgent request immediately, always solving the problems which are brought to you, not only keeps you stuck in the day to day, stopping you doing the actual strategic work you're meant to be doing that you were recruited to do, but it has an impact on your team and your culture and therefore your ability to meet your charitable aims. And when we're in it, it can be really difficult to notice that you're automatically reacting or responding to the things that are brought to you. The way you're working doesn't necessarily look like chaos, it just looks full on. It looks like lunch at your desk and catching up in the evening, and it looks like you're dedicated. And the thing is, everyone is busy. Your team are visibly busy. And so problems flow upwards and they get dealt with because the leaders know how to do it. You've all been problem solving and managing crises throughout your careers, and it can become your comfort zone. But people also do it because it's quicker, it's easier than explaining how to do it. And because occasionally the alternative feels like watching something go wrong in slow motion and knowing that you're going to have to pick up the pieces later. There are strategies and plans, but they never quite get followed through because things are always too urgent right now. Everything gets pushed to when things are quieter, and that quiet time never comes. And underneath the surface niceness that's going on, that mutual understanding that everyone's busy and everyone's doing their best, frustration simmers, but they're never addressed. And honest conversations about what's actually achievable within the organisation aren't happening. People are stretched, but no one is saying so. And as the leader at the centre of it all, you're exhausted from holding it all together. And although that can just sometimes feel like it's you, research has found that 78% of charity workers feel emotionally exhausted or burnt out at least sometimes. And that's not just an individual wellbeing issue, is it? It's an organisational one, it's a sector-wide issue. And it's indicative that reactive cultures where that urgency is the norm, where there are unrealistic expectations and where no one feels safe to say, I can't do this, are one of the biggest drivers of this problem. And this happens for three main reasons. Number one, you've accidentally built a team that needs you. So every time you step in to fix something, you solve a short-term problem, but it feeds into a longer-term one. Your team learns that that problems go to you, that you'll deal with it, and that they don't need to sit with difficulty or find their own solutions because you will. And you're not doing this because you're controlling or you're trying to prevent their growth. You're doing it because you care and because it's faster and because you know how busy they are and because watching someone struggle when you could fix it in 5 minutes feels wrong. But the cumulative effect is a team that can't function without you. and a leader who can never step back, who can never be off sick or go on annual leave without worrying. Someone who finds it difficult to delegate meaningfully or focus on the strategic work that only they can do. And there's another cost too, one that often goes unnoticed. Your team isn't developing. Every problem you solve for them is an opportunity for learning, reflection, and growth that's been taken away. And over time, this creates a team that at best is capable but not confident, experienced but not empowered, and at worst feels micromanaged and disengaged. Second of all, you might be you're modelling the culture whether you mean to or not. And that busyness is contagious. When you're always on, always available, always the last to leave, your team absorbs this as the expectation of leadership. They start to mirror it, and they don't delegate to their teams either. They hold too much, they manage the crises, and they don't protect their time for thinking and planning. That reactive pattern of working cascades down through the organisation, and not because anyone's chosen it, because that's just become the norm of how you all work. And this is one of the most important and I think least discussed aspects of senior leadership. You're always communicating, you're always setting expectations, even when you're not actually saying anything. So the hours you keep, the way you respond to a crisis, the way performance is managed, all of it is sending a message to your team about what's expected, what's valued, and what's acceptable. And that's passed on down to their teams. 3, the whole organisation has absorbed a belief that needs examining, and that's the idea that commitment in the charity sector looks like self-sacrifice, that working this hard is what caring about the cause means. It doesn't just live in individual leaders, it lives in the team, in the culture, in the unwritten rules of how things work around here in your organisation. And it creates an environment that is, without anyone intending it, a perfect breeding ground for burnout, not just for the leadership, but for everyone. And the difficult truth is no resilience training, no team away day, no employee assistance programme will change that culture. If the environment underneath still rewards overwork, still makes it difficult to say I'm at capacity, still equates long hours with dedication, and still won't have honest conversations. It's not that resilience training, those team days and EAPs are without value. Quite the opposite. They're really, really important, but they treat the symptom rather than the cause. They should be the icing on the cake of your wellbeing policy, not the core of it. Real culture change has to start with how the leadership team works to establish a healthy and sustainable environment in which all staff can thrive and make a difference as a result. But you don't have to stay stuck in this pattern of working. There are things you can do about it. And the steps I'm going to share with you aren't a quick fix, but they are the way to start creating a shift. And it requires patience and consistency and a willingness to sit with some uncomfortable feelings that might come up along the way. First, notice when you immediately step in. You might want to pick something which is low stakes, but the next time a problem lands on your desk that your team could handle, don't fix it. Instead, ask people, what have they tried? What would they do? If they're not sure, ask what they could try next. And then let them do it, even if it takes longer, even if it's not exactly how you do it. Let them have a try. Notice what comes up for you when you step back. The discomfort you might feel might be because of a loss of control, a worry that something might go wrong, or guilt that you're not helping. If you can stay with that discomfort and accept it, rather than immediately acting to get rid of it, you're one step closer to shifting this pattern. And once they've dealt with the situation, use it as an opportunity to reflect together. What went well? What could have been different? What did they learn? And by doing this, you're further supporting their development and growth. 2, You need to start being honest about how you're all working. Most charities which are caught in a cycle of reactive work are ignoring behaviours which need to be spoken about and need to be addressed. For example, emails, Teams messages, phone calls that get answered immediately or ignored for weeks. We've got sort of two extremes here. Crises are always escalated to the next level of management. Nothing just stays where it is. No one says no. The answer is always yes. Decisions need to be made by committee, and so on. And performance issues and missed deadlines are often excused because we want to be kind, because everyone is so busy, so things are just allowed to slide. The trouble is these are all signs of overwhelmed and disengaged staff teams, signs that need to be dealt with to make sure that burnout is prevented, not just accepted. So by identifying and naming these within your team is the start of addressing these challenges that you're facing and shifting that culture. 3, be really clear about who can make which decisions. A significant amount of upward delegation happens simply because it's unclear who is able to decide what. And so when in doubt, people default to sending it upwards to you because they don't want to make a mistake. So to shift this, work with your team to define what decisions sit at each level. Give people real authority with real trust behind it, and then hold back from overriding their decisions or stepping in to help. Even when you could resolve it faster, you have the answer to hand. The short-term inefficiency is worth the long-term gain, because what you'll end up with is people who make decisions when you're not there. So things don't have to wait till you're back from sick leave or annual leave. 4, you have to stop rewarding overwork. If you praise the person who worked all weekend, if you send late night emails and respond to them yourself at midnight, if you celebrate the heroic effort rather than the well-managed process, you are actively setting a culture of overwork, regardless of what your well-being policy says. So you need to start noticing what you're rewarding and what you're modelling. Acknowledge sustainable work, leave on time, and let your team see you do it. Talk openly about rest and recovery as leadership skills, not things that we should be doing. The message you send through your behaviour will always be louder than the message that you have in any policy. Yes, there will be times when you need to work late. There are last-minute bids, there are real crises, but these need to become the exception, not the norm, if you want a sustainable culture. And there's one question you need to make sure you ask in every one-to-one. Yes, time is tight, you need to get through all the areas of work in the project, but you need to start your one-to-ones with a real check-in and reflection on workload and well-being. So often I hear from leaders that there's never time for them in their one-to-ones, or if there is, it's very cursory. We have to start making these real questions. Reactive cultures are often cultures where people don't feel safe to say they're struggling, where admitting capacity issues feels like a weakness, where asking for help feels like failure. And so building psychological safety starts with the leader asking, listening without judgment, and responding in a way that makes honesty feel safe. And again, this will then cascade down your organisation. So let's think about the bigger picture. Your organisation will only be as healthy as its culture allows, and your culture will only shift when its leadership does. And that's not a criticism, it's an opportunity, because it means the change doesn't require a new strategy, a restructure, or waiting for the sector to change. It starts with you and your leadership team, with small but visible shifts in how you all work, in what you model to your organisation, and what you reward and celebrate. So that's it for today. If you like this episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with someone you think who needs to hear it. And if you think I might be able to help you or your organisation, do get in touch. Bye for now.